Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 6 in our series of videos where we're doing our best to answer the most commonly asked questions about the Power Station line. And as of July 2023, when I'm shooting this, there are 2 iterations of the Power Station in production. One is the PS-100, and that is powered by 2 6550s at 100 watts RMS. And then we have the PS-2, which is powered by 2 6L6s at a decidedly less whopping 50 watts RMS. And as you might imagine, we get a lot of questions around the topic of which one of these units is going to be the best for my application and purposes. And that makes a lot of sense. But when the PS-100 first came out, we made a video that did its best to clearly illustrate the differences between the products so that you could make your own decisions on which unit you should use for your own unique situation. But since then, Steve, the designer of these, apparently made a statement in print or in video, couldn't track it down, figure out where it actually came from, where Steve apparently recommended using the PS-2 for lower volume applications, like really low volume playing. And since then, we've had a couple people ask, what was his thinking behind that? Why does the PS-2 have some magical sauce in there that the PS-100 doesn't have, or maybe doesn't have? So we thought, in order to clarify this, we should probably stick a camera in Steve's face and get him to elaborate on his thinking behind that statement. And so that's what we did, and this is what he said.
That's a pretty common question, but it isn't necessarily about low volume application per se. It's more about the user's entire context. In other words, if somebody says, why do you recommend the PS-2 over the PS-100 for low volume applications, the customer may have asked a deeper question, which is, this is what I'm using, this is how I'm using it, this is the gear that I have, and under my specific circumstances, which would you recommend? And for somebody that's always playing at really low, for bedroom volume, I'm not playing out at gigs, I'm just doing this for fun, I'm going to recommend the PS-2 most of the time because the PS-100 just has other features that you don't need and a bunch of extra power that you'll never use. So that's just pure practicality. Why would I recommend a 100-watt amp with more expensive power tubes that ultimately leads to higher maintenance costs when it comes time to replace the tubes, and features that you're never going to use when they both essentially sound the same and you're going to get the same level of performance? So why not, under your circumstances, take advantage of that level of performance without spending more money and subjecting yourself to possibly more headaches than you need to? That's really just purely, we're not trying to sell you up, we're usually trying to get you the right product for your specific application. That's about the only time that we would recommend. Don't buy the PS-2, why spend the extra dough when you don't need it? It's the same reason that you would buy the kind of tires that you're going to get for your car based on your average type of driving that you do. Short-term commutes, as opposed to, I'm on the freeway 4 hours a day every day and I travel thousands of miles. You're going to buy entirely different tires for those 2 applications if you're thinking just in terms of application. If you're thinking just in terms of, I want the best Pirellis or Michelins that I can get my hands on, then you're going to buy those tires just because you want to spend the money to buy those. And that's what a lot of people do too. They buy the PS-100. It's only $100 more, or it's not that much more for me. I'd rather have the extra, the extra frosting on the cake. Maybe so. Me personally, I have rarely been in the position where I wished I had the PS-100 when I had a PS-2. But I haven't played out live, and I haven't used the facility of the PS-100 in a live environment yet for me to even just drag one along just to see. It's it does what I needed to do when I needed to do it, and also it runs a little cooler because the power tubes are smaller, there's less voltage in there. It's just practical stuff, really.
Well, that's really interesting to me, and I guess it just goes to show that, you know, the individual feature set that you need is going to come down to whatever you're imagining for your own unique situation, right? So like for Steve, the PS-2 is his own little private slice of nirvana, and for me, the PS-100 is where it's at. I rarely use the power station to get my volume down to bedroom level, although it totally makes sense why people would use it for that, because duh. But what I do when I need to play quietly is I'll take the line out from the reactive load, run that into my computer through an IR, and then I can play quietly through the monitors here in the studio or at home. The reason that the PS-100 is so exciting to me and why I was so stoked when it came out was I kept running into issues in live applications where I would set my amplifier up for a clean tone that I really liked. But then, you know, if I was playing with the drummer who was particularly rambunctious or the sound in the room was crap, you know, I could just get buried. And if I turned up the master, you know, I'd run into headroom problems, you know, and I'd wind up with the sound that was totally not what I was going for. So with the PS-100, you know, I was theoretically able to plug my old deluxe reverb in, you know, and run it at like 3 or 3.5, right where it starts to break up. And, you know, I can blow it up as big as I want with zero headroom issues with the PS-100. So that's why I was so excited. So go figure. If you haven't already, it would be wonderful if you would like this video and subscribe to the channel and click on the notification icon so you can be notified when we put out more stuff like this. Really hope that this was helpful, or at least entertaining, and we got a lot more videos like this coming down the pike, and we're going to see you again real soon in the next one. Cheers!